Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. It's hype time once again. I asked you guys a little while ago on the community tab of my YouTube channel, what are some hyped fragrances that you bought just because of the hype that either lived up to the expectations or didn't? And let me know what they were and how it went. And a bunch of you responded and upvoted other people's comments, and today I'm going over with you guys 15 hyped fragrances that both did and did not live up to expectations. And I'll have them all linked in the description below in case you want to check those out. And if you want to be part of a future video, check out the community tab on my YouTube channel because there will be a question there where you can upvote other people's comments and leave one of your own and be featured in a future video. Before we jump into your comments and fragrances, pause the video now if you'd like a code to maxaroma.com, sauvantgarde.com, twistedlily.com. Save yourself some money when you shop on these websites. And I love doing videos like these because when I ask you guys something, there will be one comment where they're just like, I hate this, it's absolute trash. This fragrance literally killed my dog. And then there will be another person right underneath it, same fragrance, who's like, this is my most complimented fragrance of all time. It truly elevates me to a higher place of being. My third eye awakens and compliments flow in from all directions. And it's just like so diametrically opposed and it's the exact same fragrance. Yeah. Crazy how that works, right? So a few of these I included, both one where somebody said it was overhyped trash and underhyped and a masterpiece for the same fragrance. So let's get it started with Agent Foz, who says, Bentley For Men Intense. After all the hype, I decided to pull the trigger. It was absolutely disgusting in my opinion. So strong and off-putting. Ugh, disgusting trash. And Bentley For Men Intense is a fragrance that I saw numerous times listed by multiple people, and it makes sense. It is inexpensive and it is hyped. So when you're talking about a cheap hype beast, yeah, a lot of people are gonna get that, and you're gonna have a bunch of people on both sides of the fence. And this one is pretty divisive as well because it's not your typical easygoing fragrance. So it's one that you may have strong feelings for one way or the other. It is strong. And it's got similarities to some niche fragrances out there. Like Idole de Luban, for example. It's similar to that, only way more affordable. So I really like it, but I also understand that people, especially people just getting into fragrances, may not enjoy it a bit. We also had Gurjot Singh, who said, Bentley For Men Intense. Totally worth the hype. Loved it. And almost everyone around me loved it as well. Surprisingly, more than any of my other expensive fragrances. A lot of them asked me to get them the same fragrance. So there we go, two sides of the same coin. Bentley For Men Intense, overhyped trash, underhyped cheapy gem. It's both. Then we got a big comment from Marco Dipasquale. I bought Club de Nuit Intense Man a few years ago based on YouTube hype, and I liked it, but it was too strong to wear in public. Private situations only. No Club de Nuit Intense Man allowed in public. Of course, a Ventus clone, for those of you unaware, which probably all of you are aware. But he also says, I also bought Detour Noir last summer and wore it through the fall and winter as it was amazing. Became my signature scent for fall and winter 2022, and I wore it almost every day. Also says he was impressed by Mont Blanc Legend Spirit, and says overall, the cheapy hype kings get me the most compliments, and it has turned me off against buying or wearing my more expensive scents, since I can just spray these on, get more compliments, and not have the financial burden. It's been the same for clothes too. Whatever works for you. For some people, it's going to be the more expensive fragrances that works best for them and makes them feel more confident. And for others, it just makes more sense to get something that's inexpensive, that's not going to be a mental burden, that they can just blast on, smell great, and feel confident. Either one of those, whatever works for you. That's what you should do. Detour Noir, of course, is a clone of Parfums Marley Layton. I think it's a darn good clone, especially for the price point. And I did see this one pop up a couple times from people who said they did not like it. Actually, one person said it smelled like menthol, interestingly. George Williams is up next, who says, I tried Dior Homme Intense and Parfum due to the hype. And honestly, they're all right in the sense that I respect the fragrances, but I don't personally like them that much. And that's fair. I think Dior Homme Intense and Dior Homme Parfum are two of the best designer fragrances that have ever been made, period, hard stop. They are amazing in terms of just my personal taste. The iris in there is out of control. It's got this great refined sweetness, almost like a deep chocolate that mixes together with the iris. But it is also not very versatile. For a lot of people, they would smell this and be like, I can never pull that off. Why would I own it? You know, if I'm gonna go to a tuxedo, a black tie event in the middle of winter, then sure. But outside of that, when am I gonna wear it? And if you made that argument, I would say, fair enough. I mean, of course, some people will say, no, you can wear this whenever you want, but I'm talking about for the vast majority of people. I'm glad you at least respected them. But then we also have Merrick Lindo, who says, Dior Homme Intense, based solely from how many times and how you spoke about it, turned out to be one of my loves. So yeah, another one that kind of cuts both ways. Then we have Brandon Scott, who says, I tried Mancera Sidrapoise and Sidrapoise Intense and was disappointed in both. For all the hype, I thought they would be way better. Pathetic. Now, Sidrapoise, I do think, especially for the price point, is a really good buy because you can get 120 mils of this stuff for not that much money. Mancera's at discounters are heavily discounted. Very versatile. It's got a great performance, a big compliment factor. Yeah. I mean, I dig it. But this video is about things that didn't work for you guys, and for you, Brandon, this stuff just... And to be fair, interestingly enough, Sidrapoise, from what I could see, was the most mentioned fragrance on both sides. The most disappointing and also somehow the least disappointing. I figured it would be something like Encre Noir, which did come up, or Bentley For Men Intense, which obviously did come up. But no, Sidrapoise, more than anything, was mentioned as disappointing and not disappointing. For example, the Bronx Bogglehead said, Mancera Sidrapoise, it actually exceeded my expectations. I thought it was going to be something like Explorer, a different take on the Aventus DNA, but I really love the scent, 10 out of 10 for me. Tony Thompson, 1981, says F Black by Ferragamo. It was one of the most hyped fragrances when I first started watching videos. While I'll admit that the far dry down smells fantastic, the opening gives me melted plastic vibes. Even with the dry down, I don't get the hype it once got. And if you're just getting into fragrances now or here recently, you may say, what? Ferragamo F Black hyped? Really? And the answer is, oh yeah. At one point, F Black was a hype monster. This was a hyped cheapie that everybody was throwing into their carts and buying up. And to be fair, it's a fragrance that I never really got that much hype from myself. I don't think it's terrible. You know, for the price point, it's solid, but it's not something where I smell it and go, oh, mind blown. So for this one, I think I'm gonna be right there with you, Tony. The Flare 33 says, I got Missoni Wave and hated it at first. The smell from the bottle and the first couple times wearing it were not pleasing for me. After like 2 times wearing it, I absolutely loved it. I find the scent super fitting for spring and receive compliments. This does happen with pretty much any fragrance. It's happened with me a whole bunch of times, and if you wear fragrances for long enough and try enough of them out, it'll happen to you. Get a fragrance in, you spray it on, and you think to yourself, this stuff kinda sucks. Then you give it another try, and maybe the second time you go, actually it's not as bad. And then the third, fourth, fifth time, all of a sudden, now you're thinking to yourself, this stuff is really good. It happens. And I'm glad it happened to you with Missoni Wave instead of having the other thing happen to where you just think it's complete garbage. Sol Caballero says, Ganymede. At first wear, I didn't get the hype and found it very odd, but interesting. After days of consecutive wear, it grew on me real quick and is now one of my all-time favorites. Give your fragrances time and multiple wear, gents. They might surprise you. So yeah, there we go, once again. Now Ganymede is one that for me, I liked it pretty much right away. I did sample it first and then ended up buying a full bottle as I ran through my sample. I think it's quite interesting, as you said, and pretty unique as well. It's got this really nice minerality to it that works extremely well during the spring and fall. And actually it's one I could wear during summer and winter as well. I just maybe would spray a little more or a little less. And we got one from Tob Juba who says, stronger with you, absolutely. And it sure did exceed everything. Short, sweet, simple, to the point. My favorite from the Stronger With You line. I mean, there are other ones that can compete with this one in the Stronger With You line, but keep coming back to this one. Anthony Cedeno says, Mercedes-Benz Club Black. I fell in love with it when I first smelled it. I thought it was niche quality. Reminded me a lot of By the Fireplace, but with more vanilla. And this one is another hype beast. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I guess everything in the list, right? It is one of the best vanilla fragrances out there, especially in the designer realm. And it does sometimes get hard to find at discounters. It'll sell out with some regularity, but usually you can find this around 50 bucks or so. And at that price point, it's a steal. Then we got a submission from Anthony Chavez who says, Terre d'Hermes Eau de Toilette. After purchasing it, I get why people were saying that it's not a safe blind buy. I was pretty disappointed. To me, it just smells like orange pledge. Oof, ouch. Still hopeful that maybe with a few more wears, I'll grow to like it. Well, we've already talked about that a couple times in this video, haven't we? Just wear it more, you'll eventually like it. But this one is a bit divisive, yes. So when people say it's not a safe blind buy, especially when we're talking about very popular fragrances, even fragrances that are heralded by a bunch of people as being a 10 out of 10, a perfect 10 fragrance, this one, maybe more so than any of the others, can be divisive. So obviously Orange Pledge, it's giving you kind of a chemically feel, which is pretty rough. For most people, they would say it's that kind of earthiness, that flintiness, that bit of dirtiness with the orange off the top just isn't very pleasant. And then vetiver being one of the main notes in the base, vetiver is another note that for a lot of people just doesn't do it for them. So sorry to hear that. I think it's great. James H says, Versace Dylan Blue! Exclamation, exclamation. Kept hearing about this fragrance for so long, so I purchased it. Now I love it. Super versatile. Amazing dry down. Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with no Dylan Blue. This is a really nice blue fragrance. Doesn't cost as much as the big boys, Sauvage, Y, and Bleu de Chanel, but it gets the job done. It is super versatile, like you said. I think you can pull this off year-round pretty easily, daytime or nighttime. Maybe not quite as hyped as some of the other ones in this list, but it definitely has a big group of lovers. Chris Compton says, I bought Aqua di Gio Profumo because it was at one time on every top 10 list. I saw it on sale and jumped on it. Instantly became a favorite of mine. Aqua di Gio Profumo in every top 10 list? Sounds about right. Especially when it came out. I mean, this was a big release in the fragrance community. Still is. But Aqua di Gio Profumo, I think that one hit harder than maybe any Aqua di Gio ever. At least we're talking the fragrance community here. And I'm glad that it works for you. Hopefully the new Aqua di Gio Parfum will work for you as well. Back in 21 says, definitely L'Homme Mediol Eau de Parfum. My first thought was, would it smell like a combo of Lost Cherry's cherry note and Pegasus's almond note? Man, I tell you, I was so wrong. I still like the fragrance nonetheless, even though it didn't live up to my expectations. Yeah, it's definitely not a combo of PDM and Tom Ford, that's for sure. But I do love the way that the cherry comes across here. I like the almond in all the L'Homme Mediol fragrances, and I think this is one of the best in the entire line. And one thing with the L'Homme Mediol fragrances, especially Eau de Parfum and Extreme, is I think that the scarcity of those in the US at discounters, since they've come out anyway, has really, I don't know if I want to say driven some FOMO, like fear of missing out, but it has made them more difficult to find. And then because they're not as readily available, it's almost like it boosts the fragrance up even more in terms of hype, because everyone's like waiting around trying to get a bottle. And when it finally pops up, everyone grabs it really quickly. So that could also lead to maybe expectations that would be very difficult to meet. Final two, we've got Smacked, who says, Wanted by Night and Prada L'Homme Intense both ended up being 10 out of 10 stunners. Love Wanted by Night. Loved it even more when it was way cheaper, because at one point you could find this at discounters for under $30. Don't really see it going for those prices anymore, but it's still worth it. And this one I think is very unique compared to pretty much anything else out there. Great spiciness, little smoke, tobacco in there, and some fruits. Good stuff. And then Prada L'Homme Intense, what most people would say was the best in the line. That Prada L'Homme Intense improved upon Prada L'Homme, and now it's just about impossible to find, so yay. Last but not least, we have Renee Serrano, who says, Le Mans Le Parfum. And I think it exceeded my expectations. Beautiful fragrance and super long lasting. And to be fair here, this one also had a decent amount of people saying it was too powdery, that they didn't like it as much as they hoped they would. So another one kind of like Bentley For Men Intense, Sidrapoise, and some of the others, where it had a whole bunch of vocal people saying, it's amazing, but then you also had some people saying, it just didn't do it for me. Now, of course, for myself, I love it. I think Le Male Parfum is a great release, one of the best flankers over the past number of years. Wonderful modern take on the original Le Male, making it better for evenings as well. So there we go. 15 fragrances, both that exceeded your expectations and did not meet your expectations. Thank you everybody that left a comment. Thank you everybody that upvoted those comments. Again, if you want to take part in a future video, there's one up on the community tab. Feel free to check that out. Thank you all for hanging with me here today. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.